It's the light, but there is still a chance of rain. The sky has gone from black to white to gray. Don't the brightest light cast the darkest shadows? Oh my love, let me go. I'm spinning, I'm busy pushing paper. I build things to tear them all down later. Decisions, distractions, these angles of refraction. Yet somehow you sleep through the sound of cymbals crashing. It's December, but there's still a chance of rain. The sky has gone from black to white again. Don't the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows? Oh my love, let me go. Don't the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows? Oh my love, let me go. That was The Brightest Lights by James Hill, played straight from the charts of the Morristown Uke Jam. So take the link in the video description, download the free ukulele song sheet, grab your own ukulele, and you can play right along with this video. And if you'll be anywhere near Morristown, New Jersey, come out and play with us. In just a moment, I'm going to do a tutorial covering everything I just played. And at the very end, I'll do a slow motion close-up play along that you might find helpful. But right now, if you like the video, please like the video with a thumbs up. If you want lots more, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want hundreds more free downloadable ukulele song sheets, each one with a link to its own free video tutorial and play along, then check out our Dropbox and then come play with us. Okay, first off, I have to say, James Hill, I'm a big fan, of course. And I love his album, The Old Silo. That's why I'm wearing the cowboy hat and whatever. It's kind of a Western style album. And this fits right in with it. Many playable songs and really clever, lovely, wonderful songs. Gotta say though, James Hill usually has a lot of finesse that isn't necessarily easy. And in this chart, I had to do things I have never done before. That is to say, I have never written the kind of notation on any other song sheet. The hundreds of song sheets out there, I've never written one like this because I wanted to make it readable and playable, and yet I tried to describe three different things. One, playing different versions of the chord up the neck, like this. First set position, second position, right? First position, second position. Okay, I wanted to describe that. I also wanted to describe not playing all the strings, like the difference between this and this. And you might not hear it, it's very subtle, but it doesn't have the high string. I'm actually holding it, right? And I hold it. I wanted you to hear instead of the A string there. So I had to hold it. I had to put that in the notation. And then there's also so much in the use of suspended fourths and seconds that I didn't want to have to write in D suspended fourth, D suspended second, D suspended fourth, D. It was so hard to do that. So here's what I did. Looking at it isn't going to make any sense to you unless you're looking at the song sheet. But download the song sheet, then this will make sense. My normal notation, very commonly used in my song sheets, which you always have the ability to ignore if you want, is that a superscripted number in the same color as the chord means we're playing up the neck. So D is here. A D with a little tiny superscripted 2 is here. 3 is here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that's playing up the neck. Like I said, it's always a D. It's always just a D. So you can always ignore those superscripted numbers. Now the next one that I've only written this out in a few song sheets, is the bright red. This only comes in the first 2 lines of the intro of this song. But a bright red superscripted number means only play that many strings. And I've always counted from the top, from the ceiling down. That is to say, I've never needed, in my arrangements, I've never needed to ignore or stop playing, you know, the low strings. It's always been, I don't want to play the A string, or maybe I only want to play 2, or I only want to play 3 from the top down. So a superscripted bright red 3 means I'm actually holding on to my first string here, my A string, so that when I play a D, it's lower. Excuse me, that's a G. When I play a D, it's lower. And what rings out as kind of the melody is the highest note you hear, which in this case is the E string, because I'm holding on to the A string. Now if I had fingers and a brain like James Hill, I probably wouldn't have to hold on. I would just not play the A string. But I can't strum and not play one of the strings. I have to hold on to it so that it won't ring out. And then I just strum with my index finger. And you can hear there, because I'm holding on to it. By the way, here's what it would sound like if I didn't do that. Right, you'd hear this. I didn't want to hear that. So that's the superscripted red. And then the last thing, and this only occurs in this song sheet, I've never used it any other time, is a bright blue superscripted number, is my shorthand for suspended fourth or suspended second. So, right, all I'm doing on the D, and I only use this on Ds, right? That is to say, in this song, I only had a D suspended fourth and a D suspended second, but it was a regular thing throughout the song. Right? I didn't want to have to say D, suspended fourth, D, suspended fourth, D, suspended fourth, suspended. I didn't want to have to say that. So I wrote them in with a little 4 and back to D, 4 back to D, 4 back to D, 2 back to D. That's the way I wrote it. And I also, instead of writing all the positions, I just put high or low. High meaning, or low meaning what I just showed you. By the way, it's my ring finger doing all the work, and it's not much work. Barely any movement, but it adds a lot of finesse. And then the high version is this. I've got a second position D, and I'm using my ring finger to drop a fourth. And that time I go down to a second position A. Okay, so again, this song has a lot of finesse. It's not actually that hard, the way I played it. I'm guessing the way James plays it, it's not possible for me. I'm just guessing. He's got a lot more finesse than me. But the way I played it, it is not really a hard song. It was just hard to write down. So that means it'll be hard for you to read. But that's, I just told you how to understand all of what I did. The chord transitions in this are not hard. There are not that many chords. I think I'm just going to chronologically go through everything I did. And I'll do it slow motion, or excuse me, I'll do it close up on my left hand so you can see everything I'm doing. So it starts with the intro, kind of in the middle of a measure. And I started on upstroke, right, an up strum. So, yeah. And now I'm holding on to this. That's the first part of the intro. That's the first 2 lines, right? So here's what I'm doing again. Starts with an upstrung, but you want to hear the emphasis is always on the chord changes, period. In between the chord changes, I'm basically just drumming to kind of keep time. That's basically it. But so I don't have any hints. The chord changes aren't in a regular, like, methodical pattern, at least that I could detect, other than when you listen to it, it makes sense. So all I have to say is remember how the meter of the chord changes, and the chord changes are when the emphasis is. So here, here, here. Now I'm holding on. So from a second position, all I'm doing is, from there, you can sort of arch your index finger because it's staying in the same place and dropping a regular D. And now from there, my ring finger is the anchor point. It's sliding up 1 fret. That's the only movement it makes to the G. And then again, it slides back down to the D. And it's going to do the same thing going back to a G, except now I'm holding the A string. And again, slides back down to the D, except I'm holding the A string. And now it's to an A, very quickly back and forth, from the D to A and D again. And I'm still holding the A string. And the last one is G, D, A. Again, my ring finger is kind of the stability point. It's sliding up to a G, down to the D, and an A. And now I take my finger off. I have no more worries about playing only 3 strings. And I go into the regular pattern that is like 80% of this song, which is remarkable that I never get tired of it. It's remarkably repetitive. I always attribute this to good songwriting. When they can do something where I write it down and I'm like, man, this is so repetitive. How come I didn't get bored? I don't know why. If I had written something like that, it would be boring. But it's not. That's James Hill. All right, so here's what I'm doing. And this again, it's the last 2 lines of the intro. It's also the first 2 lines of each verse. And it's hanging on a D. It's 1 chord, kind of. And all you're doing is messing with your ring finger to vary between a D suspended 4th, back to a D, pick it up for a D suspended 2nd. So here it goes. This is, again, just the intro. This is the 3rd line of the intro. So you notice again, all of the emphasis is when I'm changing chords. Straight into verse 1. I wore a carnation, you wore a lily white. Our young love, it could survive on sunlight. Now here's where I switch to high, right? This is high positions of almost the same chords. Now I've got a 2nd position D, so from here, all I'm doing is dropping that index finger to a bar, and I got my pinky out there, so it's got a 2nd position D. Was foolish and fancy, tasted like cotton candy. So from the D, again, to a suspended 4th is just created by dropping my middle finger there, and pick it up, and I'm back to a D. So, and the last time I go to a 2nd position A, and which causes me, again, my pinky just slides down 1, my index finger slides over sort of diagonally to form an A. That's it. And then I'm back to the low. I love you, I miss you, like Elvis misses Tennessee. High again. Exactly the same for the 2nd verse. And then the pre-chorus A is just simple downstrums. And here's what I'm doing. I end on a D. A swim in the ocean might not hurt me any. Hang in there. That's where I'm waiting, on a D. Okay, at this point now, I'm going to drop my index finger to bar the 2nd fret and form a B minor. It's late July, but there is... Now, at this point, I'm going to a G, so I'm basically just going to move my index finger over sort of 1 fret, or excuse me, 1 string. Get the G. Still a chance. At this point, my index finger slides down 1 fret to the A of rain. Now I leave my middle finger there and drop 2 more fingers to get that D. Now I just have to jump to a B minor again. The sky has gone from black to white to gray. Here, all I'm doing, I've got the A, and I'm adding a suspended fourth by dropping a ring finger right there, just in a quick strum. That's it. Don't the bright... Oh, and I stop it, right? And I want it to stop. So you can stop it with your right hand, you can stop it with your left fingers, but stop it for drama. So when you sing the next 4 words, don't the brightest lights, it's dramatic because there's no backup, right? There's no... it's a cappella. Don't the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. Right, that's the most dramatic part of the song. You're like crying out to the sky. All right, so don't the brightest lights, and then it's D. This is actually almost the same as the start of the intro, right? I've got a second position D, and again, I'm strumming, starting with an up, but I'm going to an E minor. So, cast, so to the D, and then I just kind of have to jump to the E minor. Sorry, no tricks there. Cast the darkest, and back to a D. Shadows, oh my love. And here again, we've got suspended fourth, back to a D, and switch these two for an A. Let me go. And it's the same high riff. Same thing in the verse 3, same thing in pre-chorus B, same thing in the chorus 2 more times. The only thing left that we haven't talked about is the very, very last, bit of the outro. We're doing that. Except the very, very last time, instead of that, I do... Sorry? So instead of, it's a quick, what I wanted you to hear is this. That starts with a D suspended fourth, and it goes back to a D, and then A, and then here. So, different timing. All right, and that's it. That is the entire song. Okay, now I'm going to play slow motion through the intro, and then I'm going to go straight to the second verse, because the second verse will lead into the pre-chorus. And then from the pre-chorus, I'll go into the chorus and the outro. So in other words, I'll play each part just once. Going straight to the second verse, and then when I'm doing the chorus, I'll pretend that that's the last time I'm doing the chorus, and I'll go straight to the end of the song. Close up on my chord changing hand. Slow motion. 5, 6, 7. It's late July, but there is still a chance of rain. The sky has gone from black to white to gray. Don't the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows? outro. Let me go. Let me go. Let me go. Here comes. That's it. See you Wednesday. Bye.